In this video, I'll look at creating and placing cameras in our city. We need probably two cameras to show this. The first may be an establishing camera down here on the street, and the second a camera that's going to crane up the building, as this is more of a vertical scene than a horizontal one. To make cameras, go on the Command panel on the Create tab, and over to the Cameras button. And finally, under the Standard drop-down, which is only standard here, we'll see two cameras, Target and Free. The reason there's only one option under Standard here in camera types is that some plugins may have their own cameras, and hence we want the ability to have other things listed. When we make cameras then, we have a Target and a Free camera, and they behave exactly the same with the difference of a target and not a target. Here's how this looks if it's a little confusing. I'll click on Target and click and drag a target camera in my scene. I can see when I'm working in a perspective, clicking and dragging out the target, that it makes a target and a camera. The camera is shown by this icon representing a film camera with film magazines. The target is this blue box, and the camera rotates to aim at the target. Wherever the target is placed, the camera looks. A free camera then, going in maybe a front view and clicking to create it, does not have a target object that's separate. It's simply shown as the same camera icon, and the field of view expressed as this blue cone. The way to think of it then is that the target camera is a dollied or craned camera, where we want the motion to be smoothed out by moving the target. The free camera is a free or handheld camera, meaning that this camera is held and not smoothed out in its motion by an external apparatus. In practice, whichever one works for you, use it. I can animate equally with both cameras, and it's really a question of what is more convenient, having a target or not. To get into a camera view, press C. If you have a camera selected, such as my Camera 2 here, 3ds Max will go into that camera view. If I'm in, let's say, a top view without a camera selected, and I press C, it gives me a drop-down list if there's more than one camera, Camera 1 and Camera 2. I'll click on Camera 1 and click OK, and here I am in my target camera looking down the street. I'll switch back to a top view by pressing T and zoom out in a wireframe so I can see my cameras. We can select and move a camera just like any other object. Let's take the target camera, pull it out in the street, and pull the target over looking at the bus stop. Then, in a front view, I'll hold Control and select the camera and pull both objects up. What I'll look at for this in pulling them up is down here in the Absolute Mode, Transform Type In on the bottom, or on the right-click menu, the dialog next to Move, and pressing W, I'll look at the world coordinates for this camera. I'll take this and pull it up here. I want my camera actually fairly low, person height. So here for an example, with a Z height of 87, which is actually fairly tall, it looks like I'm standing on the street. I'll press C for camera, and there I am, looking down it. What we want to do then is place our cameras in. Using the safe frame, by pressing Shift F, we can see it come and go, to frame our view in, and hopefully not show off that the world simply ends out here. When you're placing cameras, you may find it nice to work in a shaded view, so the display is more responsive. I'll press F3 for Realistic in this case, and drop down under Realistic and choose Shaded. This is easier on the graphics card, and allows me to move this camera around more fluidly. Back here in the top view then, I'm going to take my camera and aim it a little more at Building 1. When you're in a camera and you're placing it, you can right-click and choose Select Camera Target, and pull that camera target over where you need. Once again, I'll press C for camera, choose Camera 1, and there's the view, filling the view with the building here. Now, here's one last thing to consider. Again, I'll right-click and select the camera. Right now it shows as a target camera with a 15mm lens, which should fisheye out or make this bow. The lens size and field of view change inversely. A lower lens size means a wider field of view, and it also means things look farther away in the scene. For example, here's a 15. A 28mm lens makes things feel closer. In reality, it's a narrower field of view, and we feel like we are squishing the depth in the scene. With a 35, we're going to hit the light pole, it feels like, and a 50 is really flattening things out. Some of the larger stock lenses like 135, used for close-ups, are very, very flat. I'll bring this back and change the aperture, because this will help me place my cameras correctly. I'll click on the render setup, and what we've done is under output size choose HDTV, but it comes with an aperture width of 20 millimeters here, and that's actually a little small for what we want. I'll drop down under HD and choose custom, and there's what more familiar, if you're a photographer, 36 millimeter aperture width. Then I'll put in the width and height, 1280 by 720. This is the native resolution of YouTube and Vimeo, for example, and is terrific for publishing movies online. The pixel aspect is 1, and now I've got an HD frame with a 36 millimeter aperture. Now in my lenses, when I choose 35 for example, the scene looks right, and I can get this camera in and start framing that first shot. This will be camera 1, and I'll do the same thing with camera 2. In a camera, pressing C doesn't do anything. I'll click on the viewport label in the top left and drop down and choose Cameras, Camera 2, and here's that free camera. Just like any other view, I'll hold Alt on the mouse wheel and pull it over, or in a top view, simply move it where I need it to go. For this second shot, I'm going to pull this camera over, even with the bus stop, rotate it over to see it, press C for camera to see if I'm in the view, and maybe pan just a bit. I may need to add some more stuff back here to camouflage I don't have more of my city, but this will work as a start. I'm going to check in my safe frame and make sure that I'm not aiming down or up too much, and it feels like I'm standing on the street. I'll switch this camera over to a 28mm lens if it's not there already, so the scene looks nice and wide. And I'm ready to start moving around. In the next video then, we'll cover how to navigate in the camera and really get those cameras set up and ready for animation.